Can you drive with a coolant leak? Here's when it becomes dangerous. A coolant leak can fool you because the car may still run, the engine may still sound normal, and for a while, the temperature gauge may not even look that bad. That is exactly why so many drivers keep going. But a coolant leak is one of those problems that can turn dangerous very quickly once the coolant level drops far enough. So yes, sometimes you may still be able to drive for a short distance, but that depends on how bad the leak is, how much coolant is left, and whether the engine is already starting to run hot. In this video, I will show you what you should know first before you keep driving with a coolant leak. So before you top it off and hope for the best, let's go step by step. First thing you should know, a small leak and a serious leak are not the same. This is the biggest difference. If the leak is small, the coolant level is still okay, and the temperature stays normal, you may still have a little time. But if coolant is leaking quickly, the level keeps dropping, or the engine is already heating up, the risk changes fast, because a cooling system does not need to lose all its coolant to become dangerous. Once the level drops enough, coolant flow becomes weaker, heat control gets worse, and overheating can start much sooner than people expect. Second thing you should know, the real danger starts when temperature control begins to change. A lot of drivers think this way. If the engine is not overheating yet, then it must be okay. But that is not always true. A coolant leak often starts small, then the system slowly loses reserve. The heater may get weaker, the gauge may sit slightly higher than usual, the engine may take longer to cool back down. Those are the early signs that the leak is no longer just a leak. It is starting to affect the cooling system, and once that happens, you are closer to danger than the car may be making you think. Third thing you should know, if the temperature gauge rises, the answer changes immediately. This is where you stop thinking in terms of maybe it is still okay. If the gauge is climbing, if the engine is running hot, or if the warning light comes on, you should not keep driving normally, because once overheating begins, damage can happen quickly. A coolant leak is dangerous for one reason above all others. It can lead to overheating, and overheating can lead to head gasket failure, warped engine parts, or major engine damage. So the moment temperature starts rising abnormally, the leak is no longer a small problem, it is now a real risk. Fourth thing you should know, loss of cabin heat can be an early warning. A lot of drivers do not connect this right away, but your heater depends on hot coolant. If coolant level drops or circulation is reduced, the heater may start blowing weak heat, inconsistent heat, or even cold air. That matters because it often happens before full overheating begins. So if the cabin heat changes and you already suspect a coolant leak, do not ignore it, because that is often the cooling system telling you it is starting to lose control. Fifth thing you should know, steam or sweet smell means the situation is getting worse. If you smell coolant, see steam, or notice coolant hitting hot engine parts, that is no longer a mild warning. That usually means the leak is active enough to be escaping onto hot surfaces or losing coolant faster than before. And once that starts happening, the chance of rapid coolant loss goes up. That is why a coolant smell and a visible puddle are not always equal. A smell with steam can mean coolant is disappearing while the engine is still hot, and that can get dangerous quickly. Sixth thing you should know, a short drive may be possible. A longer one is a gamble. This is the answer most people really want. Can you still drive it? Sometimes for a short distance, maybe. To get off the road safely. To get home if you are very close. Or to reach a nearby repair shop. But a longer drive is a gamble because you do not know exactly how fast the leak will get worse, how much coolant will be lost, or when the engine temperature will suddenly start climbing. That uncertainty is what makes coolant leaks risky. The car may seem fine now, then not fine 10 minutes later. Seventh thing you should know, some warning signs mean it is already too dangerous to keep driving. If you have rising temperature, an overheating warning, steam, rapid coolant loss, poor heater performance with hot running symptoms, or a leak large enough to leave obvious puddles very quickly, then it is already too risky to keep driving it like normal, because at that stage you are not dealing with just a minor leak anymore. You are dealing with a cooling system that may be very close to losing control completely. And once that happens, the engine can overheat fast. Now here's the big takeaway. Can you drive with a coolant leak? Sometimes, for a short distance, maybe, but only if the leak seems small, the coolant level is still okay, and the engine temperature is staying normal. Once the gauge rises, the heater gets weak, steam appears, or coolant loss becomes obvious, the situation becomes dangerous. Because coolant leaks do not fix themselves, they get worse. And once overheating begins, the repair bill can get much bigger very quickly. So let's quickly recap. A coolant leak may still let the car drive for a short time, but it becomes dangerous when coolant level keeps dropping, temperature starts rising, the heater stops working properly, steam or sweet smell appears, or the leak becomes fast enough to affect cooling control. That is when the risk stops being small. And now I want to hear from you. Did your car keep running for a while with a coolant leak? If so, what got worse first? The coolant level, the heater, the temperature gauge, or steam from under the hood? Comment below with what happened on your car. And if enough people mention the same issue, I will make the next video on how to tell whether a coolant leak is small enough to manage briefly or already too dangerous to keep driving.